I say as I'm about to say a whole bunch. I'm still kind of in shock. Today was just outright ridiculous. This is hands down one of the craziest court cases. No, this is hands down the craziest court case I've ever seen in my life. This is infinitely crazier than the Johnny Smalley case, than the DoorDash girl. Like, nothing comes close to what I witnessed today. We got in at court at like 8:30 in the morning today. And it's safe to say it was a roller coaster from 8:30 until past 3 p.m. So we sat in there forever. Hopefully there's no lag on the stream. Everything is good. Audio is working and so on and so on. But I have 42 pages of notes today. I was not expecting to have 42 pages of notes. Normally in like a Johnny Smalley trial, we'll have like what, maybe like 2 to 3 pages of notes. Maybe pushing at like six pages at the most. But this, 42 pages. Okay, so one of the biggest things just right out of the gate, it seems like Ashley was still trying to prove that the professor was behind everything, that she masterminded the killing of the 4 University of Idaho students. And now we're into damages here. So it's already been proven that she defamed the professor. But now she's like cross-examining the professor and still like trying to get her to like trip up and accidentally admit that she did it. Like, what? Obviously, like, and I just, okay. I have to make a massive disclaimer. Rebecca Schofield is 100% innocent here. The only thing that Rebecca Schofield is provably guilty of here is having her picture on the University of Idaho website. That's it. There's no proof whatsoever that she did any of this, of what Ashley is accusing her of. Ashley is the TikTok psychic, if you guys are a little bit behind, or if you guys don't remember, because I don't think I've covered this case in a while. But we're talking about the TikTok psychic who, in November of 2022, went on and just boldly claimed that this innocent professor at the University of Idaho did this horrific act and ended the lives of 4 students at that school. This was obviously absolutely not true. There was no proof whatsoever. And in court today, she even admitted that she had 0 proof. Like, one of the craziest things that she said is the attorney for Rebecca Schofield said something around the lines of, so let me get this straight, you tried to ruin the life of an innocent professor with no evidence whatsoever. And she went on and said, well, a psychic doesn't need evidence. Let me repeat that because I just completely lagged there. A psychic does not need evidence. We operate off of intuition. That's what she said in court today. Hello? Excuse me? And this was like 8 hours, or wait, 8:30, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. 8 hours. This was 8 hours of this, with some breaks in between. So we had probably 7 hours of time in court today. My butt is numb from sitting on a wooden bench all day. But we sure have one of the craziest takes ever. I am just oh, okay. So I walked into the courtroom just after 8:30, and I guess it had already started. So yesterday, I missed out on the jury selection, because that's what was happening yesterday. I ended up in the wrong city in Idaho because I pulled the wrong court record that was really outdated and that said, oh, the venue's going to be up there. And Caroline I do not remember the name right now, but it was definitely an advanced name. Coeur d'Alene, I think it was. So I ended up in Coeur d'Alene because I flew to Boise and I thought, I checked the papers and was like, oh, it's happening in Coeur d'Alene. And I went, oh, how far away is that? It was like a 7-hour drive according to Google Maps, but in reality it was a blizzard, so it took me like 11 hours to get there. And then when I got there, I laid down in bed and I found out, oh, it's in Boise. So, yeah, we missed out on that hearing. So I ended up driving all the way back down to Boise to go to this. So, yeah, no, we're in Idaho right now for this trial. Like, this is hands down one of the craziest trials ever. Okay, so we missed the jury selection, and I think they had opening arguments or something like that yesterday. So that's kind of what I walked into this morning because they continued from there. So when I walked in, Ashley was, I think the term is cross-examining, or it's not deposing. She was essentially asking questions directly to the professor, Rebecca Schofield, as I walked in. So as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh boy, this is crazy already, and I just got here. So, okay, so I have some notes here. I first started taking notes on my notepad, but as you, thankfully, because there was a lot going on in this trial, I would not be able to keep up with this little notepad. So I ended up using my phone to do it, because thankfully people were allowed to take notes on their phone. So, I ended up doing that, and at the lunch break, which was 20 minutes, I ended up rushing back to the hotel and getting my laptop, because if I didn't have my laptop, we would have been like 1 billion% cooked. So bear with me, because the first half of the notes are done on my phone. And I also want to make a quick disclaimer and say that everything I'm saying here, these aren't direct quotes. I do paraphrase a lot based on what they're saying, because it's happening so fast, I can only go so fast with my thumbs, right? So it might not be word for word accurate, but I tried my best to make sure the message is as accurate as possible. So it starts with a TikTok psychic questioning the professor, Rebecca Schofield. So this is so Ashley goes, who is the psychic. So were you concerned or not concerned with the investigation? Schofield: no, I encouraged them to investigate me because I had nothing to hide. So were you concerned? I was only concerned with the waste of resources. Then the judge gets on to Ashley. And then Ashley then goes, did you have the support of the American Federation of Teachers? Schofield then goes, I'm not certain how to quantify support. AFT is the teachers union that any UIO employee can join. They were worried about these attacks and were supportive of Rebecca standing up for herself to attacks like this. Do you know when you started getting support? I don't recall when they said we support you. Did you have support by the union? There were certainly members of the union that supported my stance. Did you have support from the teachers union? I do not recall. Do they have power to harm your career? No, Idaho is a non-bargaining state. So this is still Ashley, or the TikTok psychic, that's asking the questions to the professor as well. Which must be so traumatizing for the professor as well, because like she's essentially had her life turned upside down by this insane TikTok psychic for the last 3.5 years of this woman just completely slandering her. And now she has to sit on the stand and be, I guess, deposed by the TikTok psychic, which is just crazy. Welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome. So, okay, by April of 2023, did you have the national support of the general public? And then she asked, by April 2023, did you have the financial support of the people online? And then by April 2023, did you have a GoFundMe page? So I guess she's really trying to hammer in like, oh, were you getting support on GoFundMe? So that's when the professor said, we had a concerned friend who established a GoFundMe to help me with legal fees. Is this friend associated with the University of Idaho? Professor goes, I don't understand the relevance of my friend's job. So Ashley then goes, was it one person or a group of people? And she goes, one person. Was that person a colleague? I didn't work with them. Were they a stakeholder of University of Idaho? Yes, this person is employed by a different college at the University of Idaho. And I think the judge then asked, hey, Ms. Gillard, do we have a marked set of your exhibits? Did you submit them properly? And so she now started showing papers or evidence on like some like the paper teleprompter, not like a digital teleprompter, but when you put the paper under a magnifying glass, which then displays it on the prompter so everyone in the court can see. So she started using that. So Ashley then goes, do you recognize this page? And it's just like a picture of her GoFundMe page. Do you recognize that $22,741 were raised for you? Did you read the words of the support from the people who donated to you? And that's when Rebecca said, some of those comments were forwarded to me to help me get through this. Then she asked, do you remember what day it was published? No, I don't remember. Do you recall which day it was created? And then she goes, 2 years ago, Jamal Lickett said, we are all with you. Do you recall that comment? So she then goes, I don't recall, but it's nice to read that now. Then Ashley goes and reads another comment. Are you aware of that comment? And she goes, I don't remember that comment, as it was 2 years ago. And then she just keeps bringing up comments from the GoFundMe. Like, it's just not relevant at all. But like, I don't know. Crazy. Thank you for the donation, Muba. You're a G. But then, okay, so she just keeps asking about the comments made on the GoFundMe. And then she asks, when people donated $22,000, why didn't you feel the need to read their comments? And that was objected. Ashley then continues, do you acknowledge that I've never been to Idaho? Do you recognize that none of my TikToks were about your kids? Do you acknowledge none of my TikTok videos were about your kids? The professor then finally says, I acknowledge that you didn't mention my kids by name. Do you acknowledge that? I do not acknowledge. From the videos you watched, you acknowledged already that you didn't see any videos of me speaking on your case. You acknowledged that I didn't threaten your children. So the professor then goes, I acknowledge that you didn't threaten my children. Also, there was a lot of points in this case where she kind of just like rambled and it didn't make sense. So a lot of the sentences here just do not make sense whatsoever because like they were just incomplete or maybe she lost train of thought. I don't know what's going on here, but it was crazy. Oh, absolutely. Yes. To reiterate, the TikTok psychic is 100% representing herself. So you have the TikTok psychic representing herself. And it got even crazier today because when she was on the stand, she cross-examined herself. So she was like, Miss Gilliard, what made you think and do this? And then she answered herself. Like that was crazy. That like seeing her do that was like, oh boy. Oh, and that like, we'll get into that. Like this is, this was a wild case to see today. Okay, moving on. Do you acknowledge that I, Gilliard, didn't threaten to cause you any physical harm? So the professor then said, I think that would depend on how we define threat. So she goes, threat by physical violence or threat directly from me to your family. And that's when the professor then goes, thinking back through all the ones I watched, I do not believe that you stated a specific intent for physical harm. Though there were also alarming indications of hyperfixation and concerning aspects that certainly myself and my husband were on high alert for physical threats. Valid. So then Ashley goes, so the answer is no. I didn't threaten to physically hurt you. So the professor goes, again, I acknowledge that from the videos I watched, you did not make a statement of intent to physically hurt me. So she goes, do you acknowledge that you and your blank, blank, blank monitored my social medias? Were you able to view the exhibits prior to this? Yes. Do you acknowledge that there were exhibits of me on social media? And judge is like, what's the relevance here? And then she's like, oh, so she knows that I'm in Idaho. And the judge was like, why don't you just ask that? So Schofield then goes, we knew you weren't in Idaho, but we knew you could get to Idaho easily. So that's when I guess Ashley, like, she switches up and she's like, you vanished from social media. You withdrew yourself from social media. And the professor was like, well, I was still aware of what was being posted, even though I withdrew from social media. So you were not posting, but you were browsing. And that's the professor was like, yeah, I've had a TikTok account. I've just been browsing stuff that family and friends were sending me. So Ashley moves on and she's like, you withdrew yourself from posting on Facebook. So she's like, yeah, I don't post anything for my kids anymore. I withdrew from everything due to the negative interactions that I was having online. So then she goes, so you acknowledge that you've already received support from your professional community and your personal community. So the professor's like, the support of the community is subjective. My withdrawal from social media has everything to do with the allegations made against me and wanted to shut out any social media contact. It makes sense. She's trying to protect her family. Like, what? You have crazy people harassing her online with completely baseless claims. Like, so then she goes on, the psychic then goes on by saying, you acknowledge that the school helped you private your social media accounts. So the professor then goes, yes, this is standard practice. When one of those, I guess, standard practice when like a faculty member or someone like that gets doxxed, apparently they have like a protocol. So one of those suggestions in that protocol was for the professor to lock down all of her social media accounts. So Ashley then goes, on November 22nd, did you privatize your Facebook page? So she's like, yeah, I did. I think I did. And then like Ashley's starting to go like, okay, wait. What does privatizing your Facebook actually mean here? So she was, so then the professor went, I was trying to stop the pictures of my kids being widely available. You know, because you have unhinged people attacking her and her family with baseless claims. This makes 100% sense. Like, okay. So it was your decision to withdraw from Facebook. It was your decision to withdraw from Facebook was on you. Okay. It was your decision to withdraw from Facebook, and that was on you, not because of the threat, because you were already private. So she's like trying to argue that like, well, you were already private on Facebook, so why did you withdraw from Facebook? Which, it doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, again, like the comment here said, the TikTok psychic has a fool for a client, which is, you know, herself, because she's representing herself here. Like, this is just so crazy. So in response to, I guess, the psychic asking like, hey, why'd you withdraw from Facebook? You were already private. Schofield said, Schofield is the professor, by the way. So I will probably interchange because there's a lot here. She then said, Schofield then said, in the initial 6 weeks, everything grinded to a halt, and I didn't want to engage or post, or I was still communicating with family and friends. Moving forward, I didn't want to have a public-facing set of social media because I couldn't open myself. It didn't feel safe. It made it very difficult to want to reestablish any extent of public-facing social media, which again, checks out and makes 100% sense here. So then the psychic goes, Thank you. We've already established that Moscow Police Department said you were not a suspect. You had the support of your professional and personal friends. The professor's like, again, you're being very broad. My supervisor helped me, and my immediately friends and family were there for me. And then Ashley's like, well, I'm saying this because you said you didn't feel safe. Why? How do you not feel safe if you're getting support from your immediate friends and family and your supervisor? Like, again, what? Oh, yeah, no. Why did they let this go on for so? Hey, I mean, they just want to hear it all out. This went on. Like, essentially, like, stuff like this went on for over 7 hours sitting in court. Like, this is crazy. Like, no, we're not talking about the Somali court case, so the Johnny Somali court case. We were talking about the TikTok psychic court case where she slandered the innocent professor of University of Idaho for ending the lives of 4 students at the University of Idaho. Just catching everyone up to date here. So obviously the psychic, she keeps pushing back. It's like, I'm saying this because you didn't feel safe. Why didn't you feel safe? You have all the support. So the professor was like, because you were calling me a murderer and abuser, and there are still people willing to listen to those lies. The anonymity that I once had is now gone. So yes, I felt scared. And then Ashley's like, well, I didn't accuse you of being an abuser. So the professor immediately replied, you accused me of having a sexual relationship with a student. By saying that I did that, you're essentially implying that I abused my students by saying that. Which checks out. Like, that's a crazy statement to make with no proof. On top of, ending the lives of 4 students on top of that. Like, it's crazy. It's so bad. Just sitting in court just felt so surreal. So she's like, I didn't do that, but yeah, you did. And we have all the proof that you did so. So then the TikTok executive was like, well, I subpoenaed the university and they said they didn't investigate her. So she asks, based on your knowledge, when did the university investigate you? Professor Schofield. And then she goes, Professor Schofield, in an event the university is investigating, how does that happen? And then the lawyer's like, okay, objection. This is odd. So Schofield then said, I was never served a notice of investigation. How did you think an investigation happened? Schofield then goes, I genuinely don't know. I would presume perhaps through this lawsuit. I don't know when I was informed. So Ashley's like, do you have any evidence outside of this testimony that you were investigated? Well, you said you were home during the murder of the university students. And that's when Schofield said, yes, we left Portland because apparently she was away that morning, is my understanding. And it was a 6-hour drive, and we arrived at home around 1 p.m. or so. And that's suddenly, I don't know why. Oh, no, I do know why. So that's kind of when Ashley had her questions. And as she was packing down, she looked into the stand, and then she did this. Like, she looked into the stand, and I guess she saw me, and then she immediately went, and then kind of went back to her seat. So that's kind of how all this happened. And then the attorney of Professor Schofield, she gets up on the booth and starts asking questions to Schofield. So that's what's next. So now they pull up a medical bill. And February 24th, 2023, on this GoFundMe, let's see. Okay, yeah, so I guess the medical bills are from February 24th, 2023. This was to establish that these medical bills were after Ashley's initial slander. And then they opened the GoFundMe page again. And on this GoFundMe page, you didn't read it right. Correct. What involvement did you have on the content of the GoFundMe? My friend asked if they could post the GoFundMe. Did you write the GoFundMe? No. And just to reiterate, the person asking the questions now is the professor's attorney or lawyer. That's her legal counsel that is questioning her. So the TikTok psychic's already sitting back in her place, so she's not talking right now. Ms. Gilliard, who is the TikTok psychic, asked you if you were supported. Were you concerned about the reactions of people outside of the group? Absolutely. Why? Our fear from the beginning. Those people didn't know me. They couldn't judge if this was true or not. We were scared of people taking things into their own hands, or the actual people behind the murders taking interest in her family. Which again, makes sense. These are very valid fears to have when you're having crazy allegations thrown at you in the midst of probably one of the most horrifying things that has ever happened in that community. Then the judge asks Miss Gilliard, do you want to recross? So she gets the opportunity to get back up on the stand and ask more questions. So, of course, she took that opportunity. So she immediately got back up on the stand. And she went, Professor Schofield, when did you begin treatment? She said, my symptoms got bad in December, and treatment started in February of 2023, and it's still ongoing. Before that, you had no contact with them. I've never have been seen for these symptoms before then. Please clarify. Headaches, nerve compression, hip pain, shoulder pain. So essentially she's naming stuff that kind of comes across with like immense anxiety and being put under a extremely stressful situation that Ashley put her into here. So she starts asking, oh, did this start in February 2023? She said, pain started in December 2022. I was able to get an appointment in February 2023. Professor Schofield, do you have a professional who diagnosed you with this? And then Schofield said, yeah. Did that professional connect that nerve compression to the TikTok videos I made? So she then replied, the accusations and strain that I got was noted throughout the physical therapy. I'm also confused in the term diagnosed, as these are symptoms. I can't say what a diagnosis is, though certainly I'm being seen by several doctors. Regarding Exhibit 34, you don't have a diagnosis, just symptoms. So regarding Exhibit 34, you don't have a diagnosis, just symptoms. That was Ashley said that to her. Notes aren't the cleanest. Wendy, who is Schofield's attorney, real attorney, she went, Your Honor, those records are payment records. So then Ashley then goes, so those are from payments from symptoms without a diagnosis. So Schofield goes, much of the last 3 years has been about addressing these issues. I don't want to use the term diagnosis because I don't know what's behind that. Every time I go in, we go through these issues and we try to improve on them. Yes, these are from headaches, dizziness, neuropathy, and more things that she listed that I couldn't note down in time. Oh yeah, they let her question a lot. So that was the end of the questioning from Ashley to Schofield, and you could just see the sigh of relief from Schofield when she got off the stand there. And then we had a 5-minute recess. So yeah, and this is just the start. Like, this was just wow. Wow. So, okay, my thoughts on this. Like, I wrote down my thoughts. It seems like Ashley is still adamant that this is like one big conspiracy and they're pushing her or punishing her for speaking the truth. Like, that's what it came across. Like, it came across that she's like, she still thinks it's one big conspiracy against her. She's being punished for speaking her truth. Hello, what is going on? Why? Also, the judge, extremely professional, super lenient, very patient, to put it lightly. Extremely patient. This is the most patient judge I've ever seen in my life. And so, and also, like, when she walked off the stand, I mean, like, the jury's sitting there completely dumbfounded. Like, it looked like all of them just got stun grenaded or something like that. Because, like, they were all just like, oh, what are we witnessing? Like, and that's kind of how I felt during the whole thing as well. And I feel like throughout this trial, there was just so much insane stuff that was said, like, from the beginning, that as the day went on, I noticed myself that I wasn't reacting to the shocking stuff being said as much because I kind of got used to how insane all this was. Like, so as I'm like rethinking the trial, like driving back to the hotel, I was like, that was insane. All of it was insane. It's so bad. Okay. Well, this is where things get absolutely off the rocker. It gets so much worse. That was just the appetizer, guys. So, the TikTok psychic, Ashley, she's called to be questioned by Wendy. And she then asks if she can bring her paper to cross-examine herself. And we're now at 10:05 in the morning, so it's been about an hour and a half since all this started. And Ashley's now sworn in, and she sits down on the witness stand. Miss Gilliard, you've never met her before Monday morning. You've been living in Thailand for the last 5 months. So, just to reiterate, now we have Rebecca Schofield's attorney questioning Ashley, and Ashley's on the stand having to answer. Ashley is the TikTok psychic. Miss Gilliard, you've never met her before Monday morning, which was yesterday. You've been living in Thailand for the last 5 months. Yes. You went to beaches. Yes. You went out. Yes. You went shopping. Yes. And that was the culminating of months of traveling in Europe and so on. And Houston is where you were living when you posted the defaming content. Yes. In 2025, you said you had 8 passport stamps to Italy, France, Japan, Thailand, and a few other countries that I couldn't list down. Yes. You're familiar with TikTok. Yes. You're familiar with hashtags to improve discoverability, right? You know how to do all these things. And then she asks, like, can she clarify here? And then she, like, reiterates how TikTok works, essentially. So then she's like, okay, yeah, correct. I know how to do this. Do you know how to edit a TikTok? No. And then she goes, and TikTok pays per 1,000 views, correct? No. That's what she said. So that's interesting. TikTok does pay per 1,000 views, but I'm assuming what's happening here is Ashley is saying that she's not getting paid from TikTok ad revenue per 1,000 views. That's what I'm guessing here. Miss Gilliard, you would agree that you learned the facts of the murders, correct? You were in Houston at the time. Louisiana. Okay, so then it was like she was apparently in Louisiana, and then she went to Houston, and that's when she made the videos. Did you learn there was speculation on who did the murders we're now talking about the murders of the university students, the 4 university students. On November 2023, you posted a video claiming that Rebecca orchestrated the murders and had an affair with one of the victims, who was a student at University of Idaho. And she then goes, yeah, maybe 6 videos on the first one and maybe 4 videos on the affair. So 6 videos, maybe 6 videos on Rebecca orchestrating the ending of the lives of those people, and 4 videos maybe on Rebecca the professor having this alleged affair with one of the victims. Again, all of this is so crazy. I can't believe it. Then the lawyer goes, your TikTok account has been taken down, correct? Correct. And that's when they start opening the TikToks. And yes, we watched a lot of the early TikToks from Rebecca Schofield. They were absolute crazy. Watching these TikToks in person, in a courtroom, in front of a jury, in front of the judge, everyone reacting to them, made them seem infinitely more insane than what I thought when I just saw the TikToks and was covering them. Because we've been covering this case since either the end of 2022 or the start of 2023. I think that's when I made my first video on this. Because I've been covering this pretty much from the start. And I thought it was absolutely insane 3 years ago. But seeing it again in court made it so much worse. Like the awe of everyone sitting there watching this and her just being so sure that Rebecca did this. And she was just so confident in what she said and just completely slandering this innocent professor who clearly didn't do anything. Okay, so they go, you recognize that this is one of the TikToks that you posted. And she's like, it looks like it. I didn't bring my notes to authenticate the TikTok, but if I emailed you, yeah, it's authentic. So then she starts showing the TikTok that she made. You made these. I believe you. What kind of answer is that? You knew at the time that the consequences of your statements what the consequences of your statements would be for Professor Schofield. And that's when she went, false. Okay, so that's when she was like, all right, well, let's have you read the text that you put on screen for your TikToks. So then she reads some of these texts. And oh my goodness, again, reading these are crazy. The two people who partnered to kill the 4 University of Idaho students were Rebecca Schofield and this other student who she also completely slandered here. His name is Jack. And I feel so bad for him as well, that his name was just completely dragged into this. Just like this is so unfair to the professor and to the students dragged into this and to the families of all this. It's so bad. And I stopped by where it all happened. There's still a memorial there. This really hit the community of Moscow, Idaho. To the point where 3 years later, they're still keeping a memorial with plushies and everything, new plushies and flowers and everything to where all this happened. And this woman's out here trying to clout farm off of this, off of just spreading complete lies. It's heavy stuff. So she read the text, and then the lawyer asks, and you acknowledge that you've never met either. Correct. And you acknowledge that you found out about the subpoena that Schofield had never met, Jack. Well, that they didn't investigate. That's what she said. So she's still on this narrative that the university didn't investigate properly. So, so then she shows her pulling the tarot cards on TikTok and using the tarot cards as proof that Jack, this innocent student, did the acts for the Professor Rebecca Schofield. Obviously, this did not happen. This did not happen whatsoever. But she's trying to use this as proof from tarot cards that this innocent student committed these horrific acts for this innocent professor. So then she's asked again to read the text of another TikTok. I don't care what y'all say. Jack and Rebecca killed Kaylee and the others. Rebecca was the one to initiate the plan. And this is where it's kind of interesting, because after she says that, she starts crying. So she breaks into tears as she's trying to complete that sentence. So she said that sentence like 2 or 3 times, but she kept stopping because she was crying. And this is the psychic. So then she asks for a moment as she's crying. She turns around, and I guess she's like wiping her eyes and her face and so on, right? And a few minutes go by, and then she turns around again, and then she continues reading. And she goes, and hired Jack, the innocent student, and then she starts crying again. So the lawyer then goes, what made this? No. When you made this, you still haven't had contact with any of them, correct? And then she confirms, correct. Ashley then says the TikToks seem to be edited to make her sound worse. And then she says, in quote, this is a manipulated video. Excuse me? Hello? So then the judge asks, do you have copies of your TikToks? And she goes, I believe I do. Any objections? And she goes, I object to it for being manipulated. I don't mind taking a break. So she takes this break because she suddenly starts claiming the TikToks are manipulated to make her look bad. Which, I mean, like, I don't know how someone can manipulate those TikToks to make her seem even worse, because I don't think it's possible to seem worse than what she comes across of in the unedited TikTok. So I don't know where that's from, but, or she just used that to get a break. So she had a break. Everyone had to wait around. And so a break was started while Ashley was trying to figure out if this video has been edited to manipulate what she's saying. Professor Schofield, yeah. So then I look over at Professor Schofield, and she looks like she's reliving trauma as all of Ashley's videos are being played. Like, she looks very distraught, having to rewatch one video after one video after one video, which she knows completely changed her life. Those videos changed her life. Her life has never been the same since Ashley started making these videos. So that must have been incredibly hard for her to sit there in court and rewatch all of this. But then there was no objection. I guess Ashley realized, oh yeah, they weren't altered after all. So then the videos get played in front of the court and jury. And I write as a note, like, yeah, again, this is just so much more insane watching this in court. So then they asked, any objection? No objection. Next video, read the text, please. So Rebecca isn't remorseful. This is a quote from her video that she's now forced to read in front of everyone. Rebecca Schofield isn't remorseful for ordering the murder for the 4 University of Idaho students. So Ashley is now starting to look visually stressed as the videos are being played one after one. I don't know if she's suddenly realizing how cooked she is, or I don't know what's going on. But she's definitely seeming more stressed. But later on in court, she doesn't, because later on in court, suddenly she starts smirking. So the range of emotions from Ashley today were straight up all over the place. So, yeah. Then they ask, next video, can you read this? Someone commented on her video and I guess said, this bee gonna get sued. So she quoted that comment and then said, I'm not scared of Rebecca Schofield suing me because she will have to fight 4 murder cases. Yeah, clearly that didn't age well. Yeah. So next video with the text. Rebecca Schofield is going to prison for the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students, whether you like it or not. Again, she had to read that in front of court. That's what she wrote as a caption for her TikTok. And then the next video with text. Rebecca's and Kaylee's relationship. Kaylee is one of the victims in this who passed away. And that's the victim that Ashley is going on these long tangents about Schofield having this alleged relationship with Kaylee. And it was because of that falling out. And that's why she ordered this to happen. And that's why she sent the innocent student, Jack, to go do this for her. Yeah, that's essentially the TLDR of Ashley, the TikTok psychic's extremely demented side of what happened, or what she thinks happened. And apparently it looks like she still thinks that this happened. So, then they play those videos and all of her theories. It's essentially just like a fanfic, a demented fanfic on a real life tragedy. And then the next video is Rebecca Schofield's relationship with Kaylee part 2. And then the next text, Rebecca's attorney, Wendy, sent me a demand letter to remove TikToks with false statements. They can KMA. And the judge went, what does KMA mean? And she went, kiss my ass. Yeah. Right. So the attorneys, so she then called, like in that quote, she's like, Rebecca's attorney, Wendy, she can KMA. So, and Wendy's standing there questioning her now. And yes, this is civil. This is not a criminal suit, by the way. This is a civil suit. A lot of people were having the question there, so I wanted to explain that. So, Wendy, the attorney, who was told to KMA, we demanded you to take down all the videos and stop talking about Schofield and to apologize. You never did any of that, and your response was to KMA. And then Ashley was like, no. So the attorney was like, well, your response in that video was to KMA. And she just didn't really respond to that. So, yeah, okay. I guess that was loud and clear what's going on here. Then the next video shows her in court. No, the next video didn't show her in court. The next video is shown to the court of her. So, and that's where you have that infamous video that I have used so many times in my videos of her going, I found a good place for the demand letter for Rebecca Schofield attorneys. And that's when she's like, I can wipe my with it. That's essentially that video. So she plays that for the entire court. And again, crazy. So now we're at the end of that court that she was saying she's gonna wipe her out with it and so on. And now we're trying to figure out how much she owes the professor, because now we're in damages. So, oof. And then she shows a video that has, she shows a video from the TikTok psychic that has 11,000 likes of her completely slandering the Professor Schofield. And then she shows all of the hashtags that she used on that video. So she was using all the hashtags like the University of Idaho murders, all of the victims' names were a hashtag in that video. So she tried to make it extremely loud and clear that she wanted her video to rank, or the way she was, I can't say that she wanted it, but I can say the way that she was tagging her video and trying to optimize the video, it seems like she wanted her video to be at the forefront of the narrative of what's currently going on, or what was currently being investigated and going on in the University of Idaho stuff. And at this point of time, the guy who did this had not been arrested yet. So all she's doing is stirring the pot of just absolute chaos. So, But then she admits that she had started to post to a backup account because the first one was banned. So TikTok, during all of this, realized, whoa, this is just full on. This is a person who's just lying on this innocent professor. So they banned her on TikTok. So she immediately ban evaded and went back to another account and I guess kept on going like nothing ever happened. Just kept on slandering the professor. And yes, I'm tired. I've slept like probably in total 4 hours last night, the night before only 3 hours, and the night before that 2 hours. So I probably have a nice sleep debt of like 9 hours. But bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get through all this. I feel like my brain is kind of lagging. I promise I'll get way more sleep tonight so I can make a way better recap tomorrow. There is trial tomorrow, by the way. So that's why I say the title of this video is Day 1, because there's going to be a Day 2. And it's just going to get even more crazy. Okay. So right before lunch break, she admitted that she ban evaded. She continued working on a second, or continued uploading on a second account. And even after this lawsuit was filed, okay, so now quote from Rebecca Schofield's attorney. She goes, and even after this lawsuit was filed, you continued to post content saying that Schofield orchestrated the murders and was having an affair with the murdered student. And then Ashley goes, well, most of that was regarding the lawsuit. Okay, and you asserted that she orchestrated the murders. And then Ashley's like, false. I asserted that I believed. So on that note, lunch break. Crazy. And at this point, I was taking all these notes on my phone. It was bad. So during the lunch break, we had a 20-minute lunch break. I beelined it back to my hotel to get my laptop because I found out you could have a laptop in there. So brought the laptop. Now I can make infinitely better notes on what was going on because I had to paraphrase a lot because I just couldn't type out everything as quick enough with my thumbs. And of course, as I'm looking up to try to get the read, like autocorrect on my iPhone is just going crazy. So it's writing words that didn't happen. So I had to keep on going back and fixing it all. So yeah, no, it's crazy. So yeah, before we go into after lunch break, if you guys don't mind, it would be awesome if you guys dropped a like on this video. And if you want to subscribe, feel free to do so because it would definitely support the channel. I'm out here traveling just for you guys, but let's continue. So after the post-lunch, Wendy Olson continues to question Ashley. So no objection. Then she shows another TikTok video. So here she goes. You continued saying that Rebecca Schofield had a relationship with one of the students, correct? Correct. Then she plays a video of the TikTok psychic going into depth about Professor Schofield's relationship that Ashley claims happened with the murdered victim, Kaylee. And the video was posted on November 2023. You also said that she had them killed, correct? And she just went, correct. Okay. Miss Gilliard, in your YouTube video that you made on February 9th, 2023, one of the changes you made was that you started adding in Brian Koberger. So here she's pointing out the fact that, oh, wait a second, as the story progressed, suddenly Miss Gilliard's, or the TikTok psychic story, also progressed and changed. So suddenly it was like, oh, well, now Brian Koberger was just arrested, so suddenly she like baked Brian Koberger into her tarot card script of what actually happened. So that's also just absolutely crazy. So then she goes, well, nothing changed. The only change was saying his name specifically. So that was her get out of jail free card for that. So, I mean, that's just an insane pivot. So at this point, I guess in her storyline, she like pivoted from using Jack, the guy, to Brian Koberger. But she does double down and she still thinks that this innocent student, Jack, did it. So so then she goes on and says, that she alleges that Jack got mad when he found out that Rebecca wanted to use Bryan Kohberger for this instead of him. And he said, in quote, no, she said that he said, in quote, this is his crime. He would sacrifice everything and Kaylee for money, the pride, and the career. This is so insane. And the fact that this was all said in court, this is an insane person fan fiction. What's going on? What? Huh? She's reporting this as fact. And as she's reporting this as fact, she's also literally just using tarot cards. The only thing that's backing this is tarot cards and her spiritual intuition. And we get into that later on. Because, again, all of her proof is tarot cards and then something called oracle cards. I don't know what oracle cards. I'm assuming they're tarot card adjacent. And her spiritual intuition. So, okay. Then the questioning continues. You learned that he was charged. They're talking about Bryan Kohberger. Correct. By the way, for those of you guys who don't know, Bryan Kohberger is the guy who actually is convicted for doing this. He's in prison. He's a monster. So her trying to change the narrative away from him is also absolutely disgusting. Because, yeah. Oh my gosh. Then they continue. You knew that Bryan Kohberger was the one who was charged. Correct. But you still went on to make statements that Bryan Kohberger wasn't the only person and that Rebecca Schofield still orchestrated it all. And then she continues. Because I guess in this video, she was sitting in a nice car. So she goes, or the lawyer goes, you were sitting in a Maserati vehicle, correct? And the TikTok psychic is going, correct. And remember, this is a damages hearing. So now, I mean, apparently she has some Maserati money. Apparently. We don't normally pocket watch, but hey, if you falsely accuse someone of committing a quadruple homicide, that kind of opens up the pocket watching. Now, who knows if it's a, rental, lease vehicle, or she owns it, but either way, she took this interview sitting in a Maserati. So, yeah, and in this instance of her sitting in the Maserati, they're talking about an interview that she did with another YouTube channel that I do not remember the name of. But she confirms that she was sitting in a Maserati. And there she said that she made TikToks to publicly display her gifts instead of going straight to the police on the interview. But she did go to the police department. But first, she made a whole bunch of TikToks. Then she went to the police department. And in the video, she keeps reiterating that Kohberger was used as a tool by Rebecca Schofield to get it all done. And Kohberger and Rebecca Schofield have nothing to do with each other here in the real world. Just, again, reiterating that. Rebecca has absolutely nothing to do with the disgusting human being that's Bryan Kohberger. So then, in this video, she says that Rebecca Schofield is the killer. And everyone who doesn't believe this is a sheep. And then she continues to bring up more examples of her calling Rebecca Schofield as a murderer. And at this point, for some reason, Ashley is now smirking as she's watching the video of herself, saying that the judge is biased. So then she shows an email addressed to her from the University of Idaho. And numerically, she goes down number by number. That's the word I'm trying to say. Going through everything that she asked for. And she asked for messages between Schofield and each of the victims. And they responded that they don't have anything. They don't have any proof of any communication between Schofield and the victims. So then Ashley goes, I asked if they looked through and they didn't respond. So the lawyer goes, well, did you send a second subpoena? No. Okay. So they stated in the email that they did a search of the records and they didn't find anything responsive to the request that you made. And you made 10 requests, correct? I think so. But you continued accusing Rebecca Schofield of committing the murder. Then they started bringing up YouTubers. So apparently she made a video in response to Mad Catster, who is another legal YouTuber who's awesome. I heavily recommend his channel. He's also been covering this case because she actually got really angry at Mad Catster earlier on. So I think the three YouTubers that she did mention was Mad Catster, another creator by the name of Marky, and myself. Those in the videos that Ashley has made. Us three are the YouTubers that she's mentioned. Today, the only YouTuber that was brought up in conversation was Mad Catster. We love Mad Catster. And also, shout out Mad Catster because he's been extremely helpful with helping me get legal documents and so on. So, she said in quote, okay, so she said in quote that Mad Catster, he don't know the professor from a can of paint. That's what she said in quote to Mad Catster. Because, you know, Mad Catster's like, just like everyone else, all of us, we're like, hello, there's no proof that the professor did anything. So her response to that was like, he don't know the professor from the can of paint. So the lawyer that goes, you also don't know her from a can of paint. And she goes, false. So the lawyer goes, but you met her for the first time on Monday, correct? And then she goes, yeah, correct. All the facts you knew about her were from online. Yes. You were in Italy and then I guess so we move on from there a little bit. And we go, you were in Italy and Greece in July of 2025. Yes. You went shopping, purchased perfumes, handbags, and so on. Yes. You never apologized to Rebecca for any of your statements. Meanwhile, she's out there in Europe living a lavish life. She's out abroad, living her best life. And Rebecca here is stuck dealing with the ramifications of her slander still. And then she asks, you never took down any of your videos saying these things about Rebecca. And she said, TikTok took them down. Correct. You never took down any of your posts where you claimed that Rebecca Schofield orchestrated the murders. Correct. You never took down any of the posts where you said that Rebecca Schofield had an affair with the victim. Correct. TikTok took it down. Okay, so that was the end of the questioning from Rebecca Schofield's counsel. Now, the absolute insanity starts. Because now, Ashley starts questioning herself. I'm kind of trying to wake myself up for this one because this is crazy. Yeah, now it really starts, guys. This is... okay. So, and at this point, we're probably at like maybe 1 p.m. So we've been sitting in court for like somewhere between 4 to 6 hours. So we're somewhere between like noon and 1 p.m. there, I think. So she starts by saying, I have to ask myself questions in third person. Ashley Gilliard. And by the way, everything I'm reading now is Ashley. Unless I say it's not Ashley, this is all Ashley. Ashley Gilliard, you posted these videos. Why did you post them? No objection. So she didn't object to her own question. I posted these videos on November 24th and 7 videos on November 7th. The video length was shorter on TikTok back then, so I had to make more videos because of the length of the tarot card readings. The number of videos doesn't mean a massive volume because the videos were short. Some of them were only 15 seconds. Question: why were those videos posted? Again, she's asking herself here. Answer: I posted these videos because I first was requested by a TikTok user to use TikTok readings. Rebecca's attorney objects, and it's now overruled. And the judge says, you may continue. So we're back to Ashley again. At the time I was posting videos because of the suspicious stuff happening from another Shanquella Robinson. Shanquella Robinson? I hadn't heard of this name before, but she mentioned another case that I guess she was covering before the Rebecca Schofield dumpster fire. So she started posting videos because of that suspicious stuff. And through those videos, a TikTok user said that I'm waiting to get your reading on the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. And I responded that I would do it. So on November of 2022, I stopped talking about Shanquella and started reporting on the University of Idaho case. Where did you get the information that you posted regarding the murder of those students and Rebecca Schofield? Well, I conducted tarot card readings on who did what, when, and why. The students were murdered as well as public information of the case. So she goes on. So I will ask myself to do the tarot cards, and I did so for each name for all the students. And again, I want to make a disclaimer. I am not laughing at the tragedy. The tragedy is awful. I hate that the tragedy, like the fact that this is involved with this horrific incident is insane, and I hate that. But the sheer stupidity is so laughably stupid from Ashley here that it's hard not to laugh at her, I guess, interviewing herself on the stand. Like, ugh. So that's why I'm smirking and laughing at this, because, oh, okay. Regardless. So I would ask myself and do the tarot cards, and I did so for each name of all the students. And as I was doing these readings on the victims, the term history kept coming up. And as a spiritualist, you dig deeper. So I asked her tarot card, why am I seeing history? And the card alluded to a teacher. Okay. Then she starts going into what are tarot cards and what are oracle cards? And she says, they are card decks created by the people in the spiritual community to get a message. I shuffle the card and I take the card and I decipher the message. The same is for oracle cards. So then she goes back to her questioning. Question: what message did you get from the cards? Answer: what I was getting was the teacher murdered the students and hired not the teacher. Answer: what I was getting is that a teacher murdered the students and hired 2 people to do this for her. After all, she went to the history department and saw that there was 10 people listed as faculty members. So here she's just on the University of Idaho website, and she sees the 10 people who work in the history department for that university. What I was getting Okay, no. So then she wrote down all 10 people on the faculty list and did a tarot and oracle card reading for each member on the faculty list. So I guess specifically she asked, what was this faculty member's, she didn't specifically ask. She asked herself then, what was this faculty member's role in the murder of the students? And the reading that I did that day came out with various messages that they were afraid. So when I did the readings on Rebecca Schofield, the reading stated that she was involved with the crime, and she ordered the crime, and that she was involved with the students. I was shocked to hear this. So I did several more readings and continuously gave me the same message. So it continuously kept giving her the same message of all this. Thank you so much for the donations, guys. That she had a relationship with one and ordered the murders of all of them. Question, and again, she's still asking herself questions. After you received their message regarding this reading, why did you post these readings on TikTok? Answer, it goes back to the initial post about the TikTok user asking for answers, and she thought the public had to know. Question, why did you post multiple videos? Answer, I posted multiple because of how short TikToks were at the time. I wanted it to get out that Rebecca ordered the murder of these students, and nobody was talking about it at the time, and I believe it was true. Question, after there was an arrest, why didn't you apologize to Rebecca Schofield? Answer, after Brian Koberger was arrested, I did another tarot card reading, and I wanted to see the reading, and I wanted to see if the reading came out contradictory, and see if it added to the story. In my reading, she had two options. In my reading, she had two options, and my reading stated that he was one of the options, and my reading said that he didn't do it. I didn't believe the narrative being pushed by law enforcement and the students. I posted to TikTok to get help, to see if anyone would look into, I guess, what she's alleging here. Again, this is all off tarot cards. Question. Were you contacted by law enforcement about your statements? Answer. I also submitted a tip to the FBI tip line several times regarding what I believe to the students and the real culprits. I did not receive a response from law enforcement. Question. Why didn't you apologize to Rebecca Schofield? Answer. The public information on the case was being limited. There was a gag order in place preventing information on the case. I submitted to the FBI. They didn't respond. I believe my readings 100%. They then stated that the students so I guess she's talking about her tarot cards here. They stated that the students were separate in 3 rooms with the roommate's friend room. Okay, wait. So it's a word jargon because she was also kind of in a word jargon here. They stated that the students were in 3 separate rooms. The roommate's friend room, Kaylee, and one other room. So those are the 3 different ones. And the public information came out. And when the public information came out, some of my readings were confirmed to be true. And that's when a lawyer stepped in and went, objection, hearsay. And that's when we take a breach / 5-minute break. And it took about 5 minutes. Wait, I'm just gonna, let's see. I'm trying to see. Oh no. Am I back? I'm trying to see. I don't know how much battery I have on my phone. So if my phone dies, we're cooked here because I don't think I have a charger on me right now. I forgot it in the car. Okay. So, regardless, we were on a 5-minute break, and Ashley returns to the stand to continue to question herself. Crazy. Yeah. This is so dystopian. So the judge interjects, and the objection that Olson had, which is the attorney of Rebecca Schofield, She's now testifying against what's being found true by the FBI and the law enforcement. So then the judge announces, take everything she's saying as her describing her mental state during this time. So don't take this as proof. She's describing her story. This is her mental state currently. That's essentially what the judge was saying there. So yeah. So now we go back to Ashley. What is information that you received from the cards that made you believe that Rebecca Schofield did all this? Answer. On December 10th, 2022, she submitted a tip to the tip line that she believes that she knows the killer of the murderer of the University of Idaho students. Ashley then fumbles and struggles with her computer, and judge calls for another 5-minute break so Ashley can figure out how to display her screen on the prompter there. So then she continues. She reminds herself of her own question. Why did I not apologize to Rebecca Schofield? Answer. At the time, and the reason I'm saying answer like this is she goes, question, asks herself the question, and then she goes, answer, and then answers herself there. That's why I wrote it all down, because it's just like, wow. She's definitely committed to this insanity bit here. That's for sure. Answer. At the time, the public information of the case was limited, but sometimes when information was put out, it confirms my tarot card readings, and other times it confirmed that the public information on the case was not. That might sound non-coherent, but that was word for word what she said. She then pulls up a press release from the Moscow Homicide updated. It said Moscow Homicide updated. That's what it said in the corner of the paper. So it's probably a press release from the law enforcement in Moscow, Idaho. That's what I understood from that document. But it was dated November 30th, 2022. And the update stated the roommates and the victims were asleep. And yeah, the update stated that the roommates and the victims were asleep the night of the murders and that the roommates didn't hear anything. But this document, there's a lot of other information that was released, but I don't want to focus on that. I'm still talking like I'm Ashley, or the TikTok psychic here. She continues. The tarot reading said my tarot readings say they were not sleeping and they heard it. So exhibit 512 is admitted. She shows her email to the FBI tip line. And here she goes. The surviving roommates heard everything. The car was stuck in the mud, so they couldn't get away to get help. Instead, they heard until it was all over. So this is what she unironically just sent to the FBI. She's just like speculating on what she thinks happened there. And she's like, yeah, here's that FBI. Why are you not responding to me? Yeah, it's bad. So, question, what's the thing on on exhibit 516? Answer, it is a statement of, I think she said Brett Payne, but I couldn't fully hear the last name. That was taken from public record. Wendy asks, who's the attorney, when did you get this document? Ashley says, around the time the document was made. Okay, so if we are here, I must have not noted that they switched. If Wendy's now asking. Okay, so I think now they're, what's it called? Cross-examining her own questioning for herself. And so Wendy's back up and asking her questions. So Wendy, the attorney of Rebecca Schofield, goes, when did you get this document? And Ashley says, around the time when the document was made, which doesn't really answer anything. It has to be after Brian Koberger was arrested. The judge, then says, Miss Gilliard is adding to this as it goes into the state of mind while doing her readings. Everything she says isn't the truth and only goes for her state of mind. That's what the judge says, like as an announcement. So I write a side note to myself, honestly, and I go, because at this time in court, it just seems like she's making a case for why Rebecca did it. And that Rebecca did it when this has already been proven false. So she's still kind of dead set that she wants to prove it to the court still that Rebecca did all this. That's what she's doing. Like, this is a damages hearing, and she's still trying to prove that Rebecca did it? Like, we've already found out the fact that you defamed her. Like, that's been confirmed. It's been proven that she defamed the professor. Why is she still defaming her? Why is she still trying to prove to the world that Rebecca did it? Like, come on. I don't know. I still don't understand why she's doing this. Anyway, so she states, my tarot card readings were correct. Okay. So the attorney then goes, what do these three exhibits have to do with not apologizing to Rebecca Schofield? And she goes, the purpose of showing these three exhibits, as I was receiving information from the case that contradicted my tarot card readings. When the probable cause affidavit, despite what the tarot and oracle card readings were accurate. So essentially she was like, wait a minute, this isn't adding up to my tarot card and oracle card reading, so it must not be true. That's essentially what her entire argument here is. Like, we are so cooked. This is so bad. Okay. I saw there was an objective basis to clarify things I was saying. I didn't see I was wrong just because Brian Koberger was arrested. Question, why did you keep posting? And then she answers, I had a strong belief in my tarot readings, and when sealed documents became available in 2025, some of my readings were correct. I'm not saying that I can't be wrong because the information wasn't released to the public from 2022 until the current, where a lot hasn't been released. I had no way of knowing or seeing objective information that I said was false. So I relied on my intuition and my faith that I was correct, even though the public information said it was fake. It was very hard for me to simply apologize and move on, simply because after doing so, many readings on the students, it touched me, and I felt emotionally investing on helping to solve the murders of the students and wanting justice for them. And at the time, I believed that Rebecca Schofield was the murderer, and I couldn't find it in my heart to apologize to someone who I believed was a murderer. Okay, so the Q&A, okay, I have to correct myself. So there was an interjection from Wendy asking her a question, but now she stopped interviewing herself. So that question was her asking herself for an answer. So, yeah. Now, Wendy gets up on the stand and starts interacting and asking her questions. So now she goes, the attorney, Miss Wendy Olson, she goes, Miss Gilliard, murder is a serious crime, right? Yes. You know that at all times you posted these videos. You knew that at all times you posted these videos. Correct. And you knew a conviction of murder includes a very serious penalty. Correct. And you knew murder of 4 individuals would be treated more seriously than 1 person. Correct. When you started posting, you didn't have a single fact. So she goes, psychics don't go off facts. They go off intuition. That is a quote of what she said in court. Psychics don't go off facts. They go off intuition. That's how cooked we are here. Okay. Well, you know what a fact is, right? Correct. You know only murderers can be charged based on facts, right? Correct. And you didn't have a single fact connecting her to the murders. I was using my intuition. Correct. You know how to look up information. Correct. You can figure out her job, right? Correct. You looked up information from the young man you claimed she hired. Correct. You found information that the young man she accused of doing this was the ex-boyfriend of the victim that she claims Rebecca had a relationship with. Correct. Once you had this tarot card reading, what steps did you take to make sure that Rebecca was even in Moscow, Idaho, when the students had their lives taken? My tarot card reading said that she ordered it, so I didn't need to look up where she was. That was her response there. So you didn't do any due diligence. Correct. And you didn't do any due diligence that she knew or hired the young man. And then she responds, all I did was a tarot and oracle card reading. Other than that, looking up the website. And after you did no due diligence that your tarot card reading had anything, to back it up at all. And she goes, that was my reason for using the FBI tip line, because I believe they are the fact finders. So in her la land, she's like, I can just throw out insane accusations, life-ruining accusations on innocent people, and the FBI will do my research for me. What? But you posted multiple TikToks alleging on November 28th, 2022, that she orchestrated this and had a relationship with one of the victims. All of the videos weren't on her, but correct. And she kind of had an attitude when she was responding to all of these, which is why I'm kind of putting on a little bit of a thing. And also, by the way, I saw a comment there. No, this is not a clickbait title. She did cry in court. So yeah, no, that definitely happened. So here we are. I still can't believe any of this happened. It's so crazy. You hope that she gets sued into oblivion. She's currently being sued into oblivion, and she's also already been found, they've already found that she defamed the professor. Now it's just a matter of how much money does she owe the professor? And it could be a whole lot of money, to put it lightly. So, the only person you alleged who orchestrated the murders was Rebecca Schofield. Correct. And the only person you accused of doing them was Jack, the innocent student. And she went, correct. And you never said that Brian Koberger did it. Correct. That's the guy who actually did it. She didn't say he did it. Miss Gilliard, if we go to the top corner, this is an email you sent on Saturday, December 10th, 2022. And that was more than 2 weeks after you first started posting TikToks saying that Rebecca Schofield orchestrated the murders and had a relationship. Correct. That, if I remember correctly, was the FBI email, the email to the FBI. So she was kind of like, yeah, so she essentially spent 2 weeks slandering Rebecca Schofield before she thought of, sending in a tip. So that kind of shows her motives here, in my opinion. What facts did you have to do this? Again, she goes, as a psychic, we use intuition, not facts. False in my TikToks, I'm holding up tarot cards and, okay. And then she responded to another question. False, in my TikToks, I'm holding up tarot cards and oracle cards, and therefore, that is not a fact. So then the lawyer is a little bit dumbfounded because suddenly she's like saying, oh, what I'm saying, I'm just reading tarot cards. It's not actually a fact. So then she's like, well, can we play exhibit number 40? She plays the video again of her stating everything as a fact. Ms. Gilliard, there's no reference of a tarot or oracle card in this video whatsoever. And there wasn't. And she goes, false. My channel is all about tarot cards and oracle cards. Okay. And then she goes, so the attorney then goes, you posted that video, and not once in the video did you refer to a tarot or oracle card in that video. Correct. And you said that those tarot cards cannot be used to convict someone. So do you have any facts that he was there? And they're talking about Jack, the ex-boyfriend who's now been dragged into this because of Ashley. And she then responds, the online facts that he was an ex-boyfriend. So the attorney then goes, and you haven't seen any fact or report that the young man would have been in that house. She goes, as a tarot card reading, we don't have to say where we get our tips from. As a tarot card reading or reader, we don't have to say where we get our tips from. Excuse me? What's going on? There is no information of the paper that Rebecca Schofield was involved here. Brian Kohberger is the only person described as a part of the murders. Not necessarily. So the attorney said, Brian Kohberger is the only person described as a part of the murders. And that's when Ashley went, not necessarily. And then the attorney describes Brian Kohberger. And then Ashley suddenly goes, I don't have an opinion on his looks. And then she just keeps on saying, I don't have an opinion over his looks over and over again, because she basically says all of that. And then, let's see. There was never any information that the Professor Schofield was involved in the murders. Correct. There was never any information that a history teacher was a part of this. Correct. There was never any information that Rebecca Schofield orchestrated this, or that a teacher even orchestrated this. And she went, maybe. So you have not received any facts, right? Yeah, I requested and I was declined. That's essentially what she said here. So then she looks into the records and oh my goodness. I mean, this is just so crazy. You have looked at the records and they have been unsealed, and you haven't seen a single document that shows that Rebecca Schofield was involved in these murders, correct? I requested it, but I didn't get any. Correct. So you didn't request any such information until the lawsuit was filed. Correct. There was no documents to request. There was no information. So in the 3 years and 3 months since you started posting TikToks accusing Rebecca Schofield, that you haven't seen a single fact. False. I requested documents and I will have a testimony later or tomorrow. So you have not seen a single document supporting your claims. That's false. What document have you seen? There were documents under the seal that I requested that I did not introduce that into the evidence, but I plan to do so that can prove to what I was saying about Schofield. So when you testify, you will introduce a document that will show Rebecca Schofield was involved in the murder. There were documents revolving the Kohberger case that could show Rebecca Schofield was involved. However, I was denied access. Like, come on. Again, what is going on? So you haven't seen any documents proving this. The documents were under seal. That was not my question. The documents were under seal, so we didn't have access to them. My question was, so we have 3 years and 3 months since you started posting TikToks accusing Rebecca Schofield that you haven't seen a single fact connecting her for the murders. So in 3 years and 3 months, those documents have been under seal. No, she responded, in 3 years and 3 months, those documents have been under seal. So you do not have those documents. It's impossible. They are under the seal. That's what she's responding. So it's your position that there are documents that are under the seal that would prove that Rebecca Schofield is behind the murders. It could be possible. That's what she's like going on. Like, this is a damages hearing, and she's still trying to be like, she's behind it all. Like, that's just crazy. Ugh. Oh, man. Yeah. I don't even know. So it's your position that there are documents that are under seal that would prove that Rebecca Schofield is behind the murders. It could be possible. And you don't have a single proof that Rebecca Schofield committed what you accuse her of. We are not here to prove it's true. We're only here for damages. Okay, so now you're here for the damages? Why are you... What was everything that we... And that was it for the questions. Like, this is crazy. This is so crazy, and there's so much more to come. So I'll be streaming tomorrow. It seems like we got spammed out as well, so I'll have my mods tomorrow as well. Thank you guys so much for all the support. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Drop a like if you enjoyed the stream. And yeah, I'll be making a full video recapping all of this because I realize these streams are way longer format than my normal content. It's just so insane. I'm like dumbfounded that all of this actually happened. Like, it's crazy. How is this real? But that was the kind of like, it wasn't day one. It's technically day two, but this is like the first proper court day. Yesterday was just, what's it called? A jury selection. And they did opening arguments is my understanding, but the first real court day was today. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I'll be here to cover it. So I'll see you on a stream tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much for the support. See you guys in the next video.